Hello, this is Dattaji, and I am going to be preaching the spiritual knowledge of Sri Dattaswami. Dear devotees, the spiritual knowledge or philosophy, which is Vedanta, is generally based on logic, which is Tarka. God is certainly above the logic, and thus logic cannot touch him. Nobody can show God by the indicating finger. Veda clearly states that God is beyond words, mind, intelligence, and logic, and the best way of explanation is silence about God. If that is so, there is no necessity of spiritual knowledge because God cannot be known or imagined. Then what is the use of all these scriptures? Why are there so many discussions and debates? Lord Yama says in Veda that angels and sages are still discussing about God and have concluded that God is unknowable. Here, unknowable means unimaginable, even to the logic. They have not conducted such long discussions to know simply that God is unknowable, because it is not the object, as my friend says. If God is said to be unimaginable, what is the subject of discussions? The answer is that the logic used in long discussions is not about God, but about the non-God entities, or the items of creation. Certainly we cannot know God by logic or by any other means, but we can use the logic to reject a non-God item projected as God. When you say that awareness is God, we will use the logic and see whether awareness is an item of creation. If it is an item of creation, certainly it can be analyzed by logic. If logic fails to analyze it, certainly we will accept it as God. Similarly, we shall apply the logic to several entities rejected as God and see whether any item is beyond logic. The logic is the analytical faculty supported by practical examples, which stands as experimental verification. The ancient Indian logic was developed based on practical examples like mud pot, etc. The advancement in logic took place from time to time, and the logic was more and more sharpened. The authoritative parameters or pramanas have improved in number, and therefore the schools of Nyaya, Vaiseshika, and Vedanta differed in the subject of logic. The number of pramanas increased from 2 to 4 and finally became 6 in Vedanta. This shows the improvement of logic in course of time. Today science is the most advanced logic since the experimental verification was improved. Therefore, if I am explaining the philosophy based on science, it means that the philosophy is more and more clear due to the advanced logic. I told you already that the logic, or science, is only useful to refuse any item of creation as not God. The Creator cannot be any item of the creation. If the Creator becomes creation, there must be some other Creator for this Creator to become the creation. Ad infinitum, or anavasta, results. Science disproved some conclusions of the earlier logic, and this should not be misunderstood as refusing God. God is in no way touched because the earlier logic also was dealing with only the analysis of created items. Tarka means the analysis of the items of creation, which are indicated and understood by their corresponding names or words. God is beyond all the words and cannot be the understood meaning of any word, and therefore logic cannot touch God.
दत भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं, दत नाम बिना आनंद नहीं, दत वेद बिना सद्ग्रंथ नहीं, दत गीत बिना सद्बोध नहीं, दत रूप बिना सौंदर्य नहीं, दत योग बिना अद्वैत नहीं, दत दृष्टि बिना सत्प्रेम नहीं, दत सेव बिना सत्कर्म नहीं, दत वाक्य बिना प्रज्ञान नहीं, दत गान बिना संगीत नहीं, दत्त संग बिना सत्संग नहीं, श्री दत्त बिना कोई अपना नहीं, गुरु दत्त बिना भगवान नहीं, प्रभु दत्त बिना परमात्मा नहीं, दत्त भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं, दत्त नाम बिना आनंद नहीं।